This is Gabo, and these are the Goblin Woods, where Gabo lives. And this is a post-World War II bureaucracy simulator where you play as a border inspector to a made-up Soviet bloc-style nation. Wait, how are these things related again? Let us back up for a minute, before coming back to that. Hi, my name is Ronja. I'm one of the developers behind Hoping for a Home, the puzzle detective game we're making, where your goal is to find a shelter for a homeless goblin. Hoping for a Home follows our protagonist Gabo, a weird little goblin creature who is sick of sleeping in the dark forest and who wants to find a warm human home. Unfortunately, the humans in this game aren't very fond of goblins, presumably from reading too much Goblin Slayer or something, so Gabo needs to find an empty house. You do this by using your introverted goblin instincts to stalk around the town, eavesdropping on people's conversations and finding clues in the environment or local newspaper. My co-developer Lex and I made this game last year over 4 days for the JamSepticEye Game Jam, organized by DuckyDev, one of the developers behind My Friendly Neighborhood, among other things, as well as JackSepticEye, who, let's be honest, if you're watching this video then you know who JackSepticEye is. When we submitted Hoping for a Home for the Jam, we honestly didn't think much of it. We experimented with a new kind of gameplay that we were unsure of, and we expected middling results at best. Game jams are a great time to throw stuff at the wall just to see what sticks, and most of the time nothing much comes of it. But then the final ratings of the game jam were released. And as it turns out, our game was received extremely well, with high ratings all across the board. I mean, heck, if you go to the creativity category, then there we are, right at the top. I mean, if you have a large enough monitor and ignore this other game. This in itself felt almost overwhelming. We've participated in game jams before, but we've never had anything even close to these kinds of results. Wait, we just got a message from DuckyDev, the organizer of the game jam. Oh, they're putting our game in the official Game Jam collection, which, by the way, is a whole immersive game that Ducky is making, where you play the collection inside of the game. Like, there it is, that's our game, it's squeezed in right here in between all of these other great games. Also, JackSepticEye himself is now playing the collection on his channel in front of his audience of a few million, and he actually seems to really like our game, and the people in the comments are liking it too. Also, now the collection is on Steam. It's called 10 Deadly Games, and you can play it right now. It's available on Steam, and look, Gabo's even right there on the cover. And now there's a bunch of lovely streamers playing the game as well, and they also have really nice things to say about it. And, oh god, why does this video have over 1.5 million views? And now commenters are asking for a full version, and now we're getting fan art of Gabo, and what is happening? So that's how we got here. Now that we're all caught up, let's talk about what we've actually been doing for the past few months since the Game Jam, and to clue you in on what's in store for the game going forward. The past couple of months have been spent mainly doing cleanup of the code, as well as building a proper foundation. Back in October, when we only had 4 days to make the game, we ended up taking a lot of quick and dirty shortcuts. One example of something that was in desperate need of a rework was our map. In the game, Gabo has access to a map where the player can mark houses, write down notes, or just generally express their artistic desires. Now normally, the way you would want to create an in-game drawing system like this would be through editing textures. Without getting too technical, this works kind of like telling your game to open up an image in Photoshop, then taking the player's input to draw on that image, then saving and displaying the image in your game. In my opinion, this is super cool in the games that do this. Unfortunately, it's also super unfamiliar to both Lex and I. Seriously, we had no idea how to code this, and with only 96 hours on the clock, we had no time to learn either. We needed a different approach. The simple solution we landed on was instead to spawn in every pixel as its own UI game object. Now, if you don't do programming or game development, you might not see the issue with this. I mean, a pixel is a pixel, right? But let's put it this way, have you ever played Minecraft and built a farm that just bred way too many animals? To the point where the game started to slow down because there were too many entities for the game to handle? Because that's essentially what we're doing to ourselves with this map. Imagine every single pixel we draw to be a Minecraft chicken, and you might start to see why the game has some performance issues. Aside from cleaning up the code, we're also rethinking how we want to design our levels. In the Game Jam version of the game, it was important that we were able to iterate through levels quickly. Each level had to be independent of what any other level looked like, because with only 4 days to make the game, if any one level had to be scrapped or reworked, it couldn't have rippling effects on all the other levels. There simply wasn't any time for that. The drawback of this approach was that we struggled to give the town a cohesive identity. There was a newspaper at the start of every night, but that was about it. You couldn't follow the story of any one family over the course of the game, because the homes changed each night. There also wasn't much point in trying to remember what you learned about the town in any particular night, because it wasn't going to matter on the next night anyway. For instance, learning that the town's blacksmith lived on Smith's Lane wouldn't help you the next night, because Smith's Lane wouldn't even exist anymore. To address this issue, let's go back to our question from the beginning and talk about another game with a very different style. At first glance, Hoping for a Home doesn't seem like it shares many similarities to Lucas Pope's Papers, Please, but it was actually a major source of inspiration to the gameplay of our game. In Papers, Please, you play as a border inspector at an entry checkpoint to the made-up country of Arstotzka. Your task is to check the paperwork of the people seeking entry, and to check for contrabands or illegal items, before ultimately deciding on approving or denying their entry. This decision process can be messy. Every day comes with a long list of rules that the entrants need to follow, and you need to cross-reference all kinds of information. The dialogue, their paperwork, your daily instructions, the current date, their weight, their height, their fingerprints, even their gender. And if you get it wrong... This is the kind of messy deduction experience that we sought to replicate in Hoping for a Home. You pick up tiny snippets of conversations or clues from the newspaper, and have to cross-reference all of this information to figure out where to spend the night. I mean, when you think about it, success in both games is even measured in how many nights you get to sleep in a warm home. However, the thing I want to focus on is how Papers, Please tells its story. You see the world entirely from the view of your inspector's booth. You get some insight into the world around you through the daily newspapers, and of course you get vertical slices into the lives of the people you interact with, but the story is ultimately not your story. You're given the role of a participating audience, witnessing a story that plays out around you. You're given moments of power to influence these people's lives, sometimes greatly influence, but ultimately you get the sense that this world could just as easily carry on without you. You are not the hero pushing the story along, you're just watching the play from your cramped little inspector's booth. This is similar to how we want to tell the story of the Goblin Woods. Our protagonist Gabo is an outsider to this town, and the story of the town doesn't belong to them. Gabo gets to see small glimpses into what's going on in the town, and you may get moments to influence what happens, but ultimately this world and its stories don't rely on Gabo. We want to have isolated storylines, like that of Georgie, the reoccurring jokester who always seems to be one day behind the daily requirements, or the Isaac movement that asks the player to join the resistance against the Ostotskan government. This isn't really possible when every level of the game exists as its own individual pocket universe of the town. Therefore, we've decided to move to a more persistent town layout. Instead of smaller levels, the player will be gradually introduced to the entirety of the town over the course of a playthrough, where the layout will remain the same every night. This opens up the door for us to have more reoccurring characters, or isolated stories that the player can experience over the course of several nights. To keep the town feeling fresh, we're focusing more on changing up the environment, such as seeing the town in different colors as the seasons change. This snowy tile set you might already have seen if you caught our posts on itch.io or Blue Sky, by the way. Oh, also, you can follow us on itch.io or Blue Sky if you want more short-form updates about the game. That's going to be all for this video. I understand this might have been a bit more of a rambly introduction for the game, though I figured it would be more fun to introduce you to how the game came to be and what we've got in store for the future, rather than just showing you us refactoring old Game Jam code. Okay, well that should have fixed it. Let's enter this house and see what happens. I mean, Gabo should be thrown to the side. If you'd like to see more updates about the game, please consider subscribing to catch future videos. And if you would like to play the Game Jam version of Hoping for a Home right now, then there is a link in the description that takes you to a browser playable version with absolutely no downloads required. With that, I hope you take care and have a wonderful day. Curse you, Blazos, and your impeccable game designing skills!